Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
Welcome in another Sunday morning coffee on Past the Wire TV. I am Big Race Jim. Shout out Amwager, Tampa Bay Downs, Pleasant Acres, Shore Bet Coffee, recapping what was really an absolutely fantastic day of racing yesterday. Lots to talk about. We'll go through a couple of races where I thought some things stuck out to me, maybe a little bit more interesting. And then we'll talk about some of the things that I thought were pretty impressive to me. I've got a couple of horses that I thought just, ran their eyeballs out. And we can discuss that. But yeah, I mean, overall, a losing day for me, but really only because of that ethical diamond in the Breeders' Cup Turf. That horse was just not on my radar, and at 20 or 25 to 1, I don't think she was on very many other people's radar either. But I was the only one I missed in the pick five. Had a nice win bet on Young, and we can talk about some of the things that that played into that win bet. Just kind of watching and paying attention and thinking throughout the day, was able for me to be able to kind of change course at the last minute leading into that race. But let's start with the Breeders' Cup Distaff, because I think the most interesting thing or most important thing from a handicapping standpoint over the 2 days was definitely that inside speed, front end speed bias that was playing out even from Friday. And a lot of times you'll see, tracks that popular tracks. I'll just use Saratoga as an example because we've seen it there a million times, right? On like Friday before Travers or Friday before a big day. I mean, Saratoga, when I say Saratoga, I guess I kind of mean like Naira in general, right? Because we've seen it before, like Belmont days. And I think this is a credit to the New York Racing Association. They're able to stay on top of these things and try and keep the track as fair as it possibly can be. Friday and Saturday at Del Mar, if you were in the front coming off the turn, like it was really difficult for you to lose. A horse that's coming from the back had a very difficult time, and it took a lot of different tactics earlier in the race and going into the far turn, going around the far turn, to make sure that if you had a horse that was any bit of a closer, had a legitimate shot to win. And we can talk about Sierra Leone here and Flavien Prat here in a minute, but let's look at the Distaff and Scylla, because this is really where, if you were anywhere on the fence about like, okay, maybe not necessarily a bias. This is the race where you you knew that something was up, because if you just look, and not to take anything away from Scylla, she's a great racehorse, and um, we did the what did we hit a pick three or something on this, so we included her, and she won for us. But look at that first quarter mile, 22-1, right? And then let's see, 45-3. Right, like even Larry's, like his eyes are, popping out of his head. And these are no slouch horses behind her either, right? Like we know Nitrogen's quality, we know Seismic Beauty's quality, and then she just puts a gap on the field here and 110, right? And granted, I think this ended up being like pretty normal, a pretty normal time at the end, but like you're going 22, 44, 45, whatever it was, and you just bury everybody like this. The track, the track, the track definitely had something to do with that. So at that moment, we knew, and I say we, my brother and I, we knew we had to kind of regroup, right? Like what we had mapped out, what we had charted out for the day wasn't wasn't going to um, wasn't going to continue to work because of how well that front end speed was holding, and the distaff was evidence of it. Um, that running that fast early, you should not pull away late like that. Um, and the track carried her, and luckily for us, we had her on our ticket, but just kind of makes you think moving forward. So let's look at the let's look at the Breeders' Cup turf, and where our day kind of got upended. Um, and I thought it was interesting. There's a lot going on in this race. If you're watching it, if you're watching it closely, you see like all the top horses that, at least that I thought had a shot to win. Um, Rebels Romance right up there, the one, Amy Lock, the three are right in there. Goliath, I thought, was in the mix, and they're all up front. They're all up front here as they go through the stretch for the first time. And where's that 14? Second to last, that last pair with the one off the back there, which is great story for that ethical diamond. She's is a hurdler, and his trainer was saying that this was just a pit stop on their way to Melbourne for the Melbourne Cup. He's got another horse running in there, which was just hilarious. Good for them. But you could see, as everybody's starting to try and gain position here, my top choice was a three, Amy Lock, and I really feel like he just didn't get a chance to show his full his full potential. All right, he's right there in the baby blue and the three, right? And he starts to move here, and it looked like he has room, but he couldn't get into that hole. Right, look right there. He tries to squeeze into that hole, wasn't able to do it. And then he tries to tip out here and got a little bit pinched, and that was it. And then the 14 just comes and uh, just dominates. Pretty wild. And I guess that's that. You can make an argument um, two ways. I think just looking at it, track record too for that the hurdler. I think you can make two arguments, right? If you were backing Amy Locke like I was, you could make two arguments. One was if you wanted to be super critical, the space was there, and he just did not have the acceleration required to get into that hole to gain position into going or coming out of the far turn to make a run, make a clear run. So that would be the critical side of it, that he just didn't have that punch to get into that hole and earn his ground and have a shot. Or you could argue that there's a lot of traffic and he got a little pinched, and once he got pinched, um, he just didn't want to be aggressive and make a make a run. Watching the replay now, I was watching it yesterday after um, my tickets went up in flames. I was more on the latter, where I thought he was pinched, but just watching it now, looked like he had room. Just didn't have the acceleration needed to fill that hole and continue to move. So there you go. All right, now the Breeders' Cup Classic race of the day. For a variety of reasons, this was probably one of the most exciting horse races that we've seen in a really long time, just given everything that um, was happening going around the far turn. There was a lot of action happening there, and a ton of movement, tons of horses making their move, and the way it all shook out was really exciting. And because of the way the track was playing, I think we were probably almost always on Forever Young, but I think it got a little bit stronger knowing that he likes to be forward and that he has the stamina and the ability to maintain that forward progress and continue on through the stretch. Like, I don't know if we've ever seen this horse get caught. So let's take a look, and keeping that in mind, the bias that we were seeing and wanting to be forwardly placed. Baeza kind of hopped hopped at the start, which is unfortunate, but I still think he ran pretty well. Um, Another thing too, like this contrary thinking, and everybody wants to make a stink about this rabbit. Like, it's not like this horse was running like 21, right? Like, we saw this in the previous race. What was it? The Jockey Club Gold Cup, right? Like, I don't know that this horse is necessarily super fast to be said rabbit, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's just like basically running a 46 flat. I mean, it's kind of comparable to last year, really. No, anyway, you knew this horse was going to drop off. Fierceness is not even up his backside, and the horse is already starting to fade. They're going into the far turn here, and They had all of this action in the far turn, right? Forever Young, Mind Frame, journalism's making a huge run. Fierceness kind of lost ground there. I don't even think that it had anything to do with contrary thinking. The only one that had a shot at him here, Fierceness was running him down pretty good. I guess he had a shot. But Sierra Leone ran like an absolute freight train and almost got there. Almost got there. Almost got there um, going against that front end bias. And watching the race live, I said I thought Sierra Leone was a little bit too far back, but as soon as I thought that and said it out loud to myself, Flavien got him more engaged with the field, and I thought he did everything he possibly could have. Right, and that was the that was the race that you needed to run. I mean, everybody showed up. Everybody showed up. Forever Young ran arguably the race of his life. Fierceness, another fantastic race, even in defeat. Sierra Leone, another just dynamite race. The horse has never run a bad race. It's incredible that this horse does not get. I mean, for the champion 3-year-old last year, he just gets so much flack, or not as much respect as I feel like he he deserves, and is warranted for Sierra Leone. The horse is incredible, and everybody's always trying to diminish him and say that Fierceness is better or whatever. Like that's a good horse racing rivalry, that we'll miss next year as they both go off to their second careers here. But I don't know. I don't know how you can run a better race, really. And it's pretty fairly run race. The fractions weren't blazing. I think everybody made a big deal about this, rabbit, but it just wasn't. It's not like the contrary thinking was flying out there running a bazillion miles an hour, setting these ridiculous fractions. They were pretty modest. What we see every year in the Classic and in the Derby, right? Like we see it all the time. So I'm not too worried about that. If you looked, I mentioned it too while we were watching the replay. Fierceness didn't get stuck behind a tiring contrary thinking. I mean, maybe you had to move over and then you're behind a couple of other horses, but that's horse racing. Like that's every that's every horse race that's ever been run. So there's some people out there kind of complaining that contrary thinking backed up into Fierceness, but we just watched it. My, it didn't seem like that was the case. Um, didn't seem like that was the case to me. Who else ran good in journalism? I thought probably ran one of the best races of his career, in there to give himself a shot. Just really looks like the mile and a quarter just is a little bit beyond what he wants to run. If that's a mile and an eighth, he's right there. But a super strong effort from journalism, down the stretch there to get into the mix. I said it too, like Fierceness, it looked like Fierceness lost some ground and then was able to rally and, get himself in the mix. Who else? Mind Frame, I guess kind of in the mix at the top of the stretch, but faded and it was a little disappointing there. Um, Thought that horse would have would have run a little bit better. But you could argue that losing the rider in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, you know, maybe that was the bit of conditioning that he needed to get him that last eighth of a mile or whatever it was. A lot of interesting things going on in that race. Fantastic, one of the best races we've seen all year, just with all the mechanics and movement and tactics and strategy of it. I thought was pretty fascinating. So those were the three things that stuck out most to me yesterday. But we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and I'm going to share with you. Let's see, one, two. I'll share with you the two horses in defeat that I thought really impressed me the most yesterday, Saturday at the Breeders' Cup. Stick around.
Go.
All right. As we wrap up here, I'm going to say something that's maybe a little contradictory, a little, not necessarily hypocritical, but a little contradictory. Like we watch a lot of races, right? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Horses get blocked, horses have to check, they get floated out wide, they get a golden rail, they get a front end speed bias, speed favoring track, right? Like all these things happen, and we watch enough of it, and you can kind of pinpoint it. Sometimes in real time, sometimes when you're watching the replay, and it's always it's interesting to me, when you're like taking notes on races, right? And you can say like so and so ran the best race, but they lost, right? There's a lot of stuff that can happen during a race that would make that true. And these big races, when people start talking about that, it's a little annoying to me because it's like it comes off as this like, oh, like this big brain thing, right? Like I'm watching the race differently than you, and I was able to see that, I don't know. Whoever ran the best race, but they had to check slightly here, and then they were able to run on and finish second or third. Like, all right, whatever. They ended up losing the race. Like, save that information for next time. Like, good for you. Um, and these next two horses that I'm going to talk about, I don't think they didn't have any real excuse. Um, they both ran exceptionally well. And I just want to point out these two horses as having lost, but been the most impressive for me on the day. So the first one, we saw both of them. The first one was Rebel's Romance. Like, I've talked about this horse several times on this show. What he's been able to do in his career at 7, which is completely unheard of nowadays, at 7 to win back-to-back Breeders' Cup turfs last year, the year before, and to finish second behind a long shot upset bomb of a horse was just incredible, right? Like he beat all of the horses that the Europeans sent over here. a bunch of them coming out of the Arc, like Mini Hawk, a couple other horses out of the Arc. It wasn't one. Didn't Jazora come out of that? I don't know. There are a couple other horses that came out of the Arc that won over the weekend. So for Rebels Romance to finish second and look incredible again, I just thought was really, really impressive. And then the other one is Sierra Leone. I just thought that if you're running into the way the track was playing, for him to run the way that he did was absolutely exceptional. And we're gonna miss that horse around. He's just been so much fun to watch. Always shows up, and if you recall, must have been what, 25, 24. John and I were talking about this horse in 2023 when he broke his maiden and then won the Remsen at the end of 2023. And we've been talking about that horse. It'll be for for 2 full years now. And all this horse has done is absolutely delivered. I pulled up his Equibase. Right. Let's see. 14 career starts. Never worse than third. Total career earnings of 8.2 million. Just listen to this. Grade 1 win in the Bluegrass, second by nose in the Derby. Won the Breeders' Cup Classic as a 3-year-old. Won the Whitney, and then finished the second year in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Second in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Second, Stephen Foster. Third, Travers. Third, Belmont. I mean, this horse just showed up every single time, and it'll be a bummer not to see him on the racetrack anymore. But in a couple of years, we can root for his babies and see if they can be as successful and as regally bred as he was. So a good farewell to Sierra Leone, a horse that I followed really throughout his entire career. And good luck to him in the stud shed. But a fantastic Breeders' Cup weekend. I know John had a good time out there. Thanks to everybody that came up to him with nice things to say. Thanks to everybody that came up to him asking about me. Fortunately, I wasn't able to make it out there this year. Doing a lot of the work behind the scenes from home. But just grateful to be part of the Past the Wire team and looking to continue our work through the end of the year. We've got, what have we got? We got the Clark, we've got the Cigar Mile, a lot of good winter racing, Breeders' Cup Trail, or not the Breeders' Cup Trail, the Kentucky Derby Trail already underway. So not much of a break. We're going to keep bringing you all the good stuff. So thanks for a great weekend of racing. Thanks for all the kind words. And we appreciate you. You guys help us continue to do what we enjoy doing. So have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great week. Past the Wire TV, Sunday Morning Coffee, Big Race Gym, Shore Bet Coffee, Amwager, Tampa Bay Downs, Pleasant Acres. Thank you to everyone, and we will see you all next week.
comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.